June stood at the edge of the ship's observation deck, his eyes fixed on the swirling blue and green planet below. Earth looked so small from here, a fragile marble suspended in the vast darkness of space. He pressed his hand against the cold glass, feeling the gentle vibration of the ship's engines. Unlike the others, June had no special abilities. He couldn't manipulate energy like Mina or calculate complex equations in seconds like Ta. He couldn't communicate telepathically like Su or shift his molecular structure like Hyun. He was just an ordinary human, selected for the mission because of his diplomatic skills and calm temperament. First Contact Team, report to Briefing Room 3, announced the ship's eye. Jun straightened his simple gray uniform, a stark contrast to the elaborate attire worn by his enhanced teammates. Their uniforms displayed their rank and abilities, adorned with symbols of their extraordinary powers. His was plain, marking him as the only unmodified human on the team. "Nervous?" asked Mina as she approached, her fingers trailing wisps of blue energy that danced like fireflies. "Curious," Jun replied with a smile. "The Varric have agreed to meet with us after decades of silence. That's progress." Mina scoffed. "They're warriors, Jun. They respect power. That's why we're here, to show them humanity isn't just a species of weaklings." She flexed her hand, and the energy coalesced into a pulsing sphere. "If they decide to be hostile, they'll regret it." June watched her walk away, his smile fading. The enhanced humans had been created to represent the pinnacle of human achievement, designed to impress the alien races with humanity's potential. But Jun worried that impressing and understanding were not the same thing. As the massive alien station grew larger in the view screen, Jun couldn't help but wonder why he'd been chosen for this mission. Among Titans, what purpose could an ordinary man serve? The Varric delegation towered over the humans, each alien standing nearly 3 meters tall with scaled skin in shades of copper and bronze. Massive wings folded against their backs, and their eyes glowed with an inner fire. The lead Varric, Commander Cole, flared his nostrils as he studied the human team. "We expected more," he said, his voice a rumbling bass that vibrated through Jun's chest. "Your transmission spoke of humanity's advancements." Captain Su stepped forward, her enhanced mind allowing her to communicate directly with the Varric's thoughts. "We bring greetings from Earth and its colonies. We represent humanity's diverse abilities." One by one, the enhanced humans demonstrated their powers. Ta solved mathematical equations that appeared on the holographic display faster than the Varric computers. Hyun shifted his form to perfectly mimic a Varric, down to the texture of their scales. Mina created a dazzling display of controlled energy manipulation that left scorch marks on the ceiling. Throughout it all, Jun stood quietly, observing the Varric reactions. While the displays were impressive, he noticed the aliens' expressions growing increasingly tense. "And what of this one?" Commander Cole suddenly pointed at Jun. "He has shown nothing." Captain Su hesitated. "This is Jun, our diplomatic specialist." I'm unmodified," Jun said, stepping forward. "I cannot fly like you, or breathe fire, or read minds. I'm human as we naturally are." The Varric delegation exchanged looks of confusion. And was that relief? "Then why are you here?" asked Cole. "To understand you," Jun replied simply. "And to help you understand us." For the first time, the tension in the room shifted. Commander Cole's wings relaxed slightly against his back. "Interesting. Your leaders send a specimen of your natural form alongside these enhancements. I believe there's value in showing who we truly are, not just what we can become," Jun said. Commander Cole stared at him for a long moment, then made a gesture to his delegation. "You will join us for the welcoming feast, all of you." As they followed the Varric from the room, Captain Su whispered to Jun, "What just happened?" Jun watched the Varric ahead of them, noticing how they kept glancing back at him. "I'm not sure yet, but I think we might have miscalculated what would impress them. The Varric feast hall stretched beneath vaulted ceilings adorned with intricate metalwork depicting their history. Long tables made from polished stone held platters of exotic foods. The air was filled with a spicy, smoky scent that made June's eyes water slightly. Commander Cole gestured for June to sit beside him at the head table, a position of honor that clearly surprised the enhanced humans. June accepted with a respectful bow he had practiced for weeks. "Your companions are remarkable," Cole said as servants filled their goblets with a glowing amber liquid, "but their existence troubles me. Tell me, are all humans being transformed into such beings?" June shook his head. "No. Enhanced humans represent less than 1% of our population. Most choose to remain unmodified." "Choose?" Cole's fiery eyes widened. "Your kind has a choice in this transformation." "Of course," June replied, puzzled by the question. "Enhancement is strictly voluntary, requiring years of consideration and counseling." The commander let out a sound that might have been a laugh. "How fascinating. We assumed these were your warriors, bred for combat like our own Skyfire battalion." Jum carefully sipped the alien beverage, finding it surprisingly sweet despite its appearance. "We do have enhanced military personnel, but that's not why we're here. We seek peaceful relations and cultural exchange." Across the table, Minna displayed her abilities again, creating tiny dragons of light that danced above the plates to the delight of some younger Varric. But June noticed that many of the older Varric watched with wary expressions. "Your companion controls fire beautifully," said Cole. "But tell me, June, who is unmodified, what do you offer?" The question hung in the air. The enhanced humans paused their conversations to listen. June felt all eyes turned to him. "Perspective," he answered honestly. "I see both the marvel of what humans can become and the value of what we naturally are. I believe that balance is important as we meet new civilizations." Commander Cole leaned closer. "And if the Varric decided your people were a threat, what would you do without these special abilities?" June met his gaze steadily. "I would try to understand why you felt threatened and find a way to address those concerns. Violence would be my last resort, not my first instinct." Commander Cole's expression shifted, the fire in his eyes burning lower, more contemplative. "A curious approach." "Is it?" June asked. "Don't the Varric value understanding your opponents before engaging them?" The commander's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Tomorrow, you will visit our historical archives, alone." As the feast continued, June caught Captain Sue watching him with a calculating expression. He knew she was trying to read his mind, to understand what connection he had made with the Varric that eluded her despite her telepathic abilities. But some things couldn't be learned through powers, only through patience and genuine interest. The Varric archives were housed in a massive circular chamber deep within the station. Walls lined with shimmering data crystals rose hundreds of meters toward a domed ceiling that projected a real-time map of the galaxy. June followed the archivist, an elderly Varric named Wren whose wings had grown too weak for flight. "Few outsiders are granted access to our histories," Wren explained, his voice raspy with age. "Commander Cole must find you interesting." "I'm honored," June replied, marveling at the ancient artifacts displayed in transparent cases between the data crystal banks. "But I'm curious why he wished me to come alone, rather than with my more capable teammates." Wren made a sound that June had learned was the Varric equivalent of a snort. "Perhaps he wishes you to see something your more capable companions would misunderstand." They stopped before a section where the crystal banks glowed a deep crimson. Wren pressed his scaled hand against a sensor, and a holographic display activated before them. The images that appeared showed Varric that looked different from those June had met, smaller, with underdeveloped wings and dull scales. They moved through what appeared to be ancient cities, living alongside larger, more impressive Varric, who could fly and breathe streams of fire. Before the Great Transformation, Wren explained, the Varric were divided. Those born with wings and fire were the Skyborn, natural rulers and protectors. The rest were earthbound, limited to the ground. The images shifted, showing laboratories where Earthbound Varric underwent painful procedures, their bodies contorting as wings were grafted to their backs and their internal organs restructured. 3 centuries ago, our science advanced enough to transform any Varric into Skyborn, Ren continued. What began as a choice became an expectation, then a requirement. Within 2 generations, all Earthbound were gone. June watched the history unfold with growing understanding. You achieved species-wide enhancement. We achieved uniformity, Ren corrected, his voice carrying a note of sadness. And with it, we lost something precious, diversity of perspective. The display showed increasingly militaristic Varric societies, expanding rapidly, engaging in wars with other species. The scenes of destruction were difficult to watch. Without the Earthbound's caution and diplomacy, the Skyborn's natural aggression went unchecked. Ren explained. We conquered 3 star systems before we encountered the Mavic, who merely destroyed us completely. June nodded slowly, understanding dawning. And this is why Commander Cole was troubled by our enhanced humans. He sees your path potentially mirroring our own. Ren confirmed. Your demonstrated abilities remind us of our darker days, while your unmodified presence suggests hope that you might avoid our mistakes. As they continued through the archives, Joan learned of the Varric's centuries-long struggle to reclaim the balance they had lost, how they had developed strict controls on their natural aggression, and rebuilt their society around principles of restraint and consideration. The Varric believed that true strength lies not in ability, but in knowing when not to use it, Ren said as they completed their tour. It is a lesson we learned at terrible cost. June thought of Min's casual demonstration of power, of Ta's intellectual arrogance, of Captain Su's constant mental probing. How might these enhanced abilities influence human development if they became the norm? Thank you for sharing your history, June said as they returned to the archive entrance. I believe humans can learn much from the Varric experience. Ren's fiery eyes studied him. Perhaps, but will your enhanced companions be willing to listen to an ordinary human? It was a question June had been asking himself since the mission began. June returned to find the human delegation in disarray. Captain Su paced the common area of their quarters, her enhanced mind projecting waves of agitation that even June could feel. Mina was arguing loudly with Ta, small sparks of energy escaping from her fingertips. The Varric have invited us to participate in something called the Caliph, Su announced when she saw June. Some kind of competitive demonstration. They specifically requested that all of us participate, including you. Hyun, who had been silently observing, shifted his form slightly to better express his concern. It's clearly a test. They want to see our capabilities in action. Which puts June at a severe disadvantage, Minna said, not bothering to hide her frustration. No offense, but you'll make us look weak. June felt a flicker of annoyance but pushed it aside. What exactly does this Caliph involve? Unknown, Tad replied, his enhanced mind already calculating probabilities. The Varric were deliberately vague. But historical records suggested some form of obstacle course or combat trial. Combat, June echoed, concern growing. Captain Su's expression was grim. If necessary, we'll protect you. But this is too important to refuse. The Varric respect strength. We need to show them that humans, enhanced or not, aren't to be underestimated. June thought about what he had learned in the archives, about the Varric history, and their hard-earned wisdom regarding power and restraint. He doubted that a display of dominance was what Commander Cole was looking for. I think there's more to this test than physical prowess, he suggested. Based on what I learned today. Yes, your private tour, Su interrupted. Care to share what was so important that the commander wanted only you to see it? June tried to explain what he had learned about Varric history and their transformation, but he could see that his teammates were only half listening, already focused on preparing for the challenge ahead. Look, Minna said finally, just try not to get in our way tomorrow. Stay back. Let us handle the difficult parts. We'll make sure Earth is represented properly." June fell silent, recognizing the futility of arguing. The enhanced humans saw the upcoming challenge through the lens of their abilities, as a chance to prove human superiority. They couldn't see that the Varric might be looking for something else entirely. That night, unable to sleep, June walked the quiet corridors of the station. He found himself at the observation deck, staring out at the stars. "Troubled thoughts keep you from rest," came a deep voice behind him. June turned to find Commander Call approaching, his massive wings folded tightly against his back. In the dim light, the Varric's eyes glowed like embers. "I'm concerned about tomorrow's challenge," June admitted. "My teammates are eager to demonstrate their capabilities." Call joined him at the viewport. "And you are not." "I have no extraordinary abilities to demonstrate." The commander was quiet for a moment. "The Caliph is not merely a test of physical power, June, who is unmodified. It reveals character and judgment. Sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when not to use force." June studied the Varric's expression. "Is that what you're testing?" "Our restraint." Call's mouth curved slightly. "Tomorrow you will face a series of challenges. How you approach them will tell us much about humanity's readiness for deeper relations with the Varric." As the commander turned to leave, June called after him. "What if my team's approach differs from mine?" Cole paused. "Then you must decide which path truly represents humanity's best nature." Left alone with that troubling thought, June watched the stars and wondered what tomorrow would bring. The Caliph Arena was a massive circular chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the stars above. The floor was divided into concentric rings, each made of different materials: stone, metal, water, and what appeared to be energy fields. At the center stood a pedestal holding a simple crystal sphere. Hundreds of Varric filled the viewing galleries, their wings creating a backdrop of copper and bronze. Commander Call addressed the assembled crowd, his voice booming through the chamber. "The Caliph tests not just strength, but wisdom. The goal is simple: retrieve the sphere from the center. But be warned, each ring contains challenges that will respond to your actions. Choose your path carefully." The human team stood at the edge of the arena, analyzing the obstacles before them. Captain Sue closed her eyes, attempting to mentally scan the course. "Strange," she muttered. "I can sense presences within each ring, but they're waiting, reactive." Tay's enhanced vision zoomed in on the distant pedestal. The sphere appears to be a standard crystalline structure. No obvious traps or security measures. Mina flexed her fingers, energy dancing between them. "We should go in fast and hard. Cut straight through to the center." June studied the arena more carefully, noticing subtle patterns in each ring. "I think we should proceed cautiously." The commander said the challenges respond to our actions. "We don't have time for caution," Sue decided. "Hyun, transform and scout ahead. Mina, be ready to clear a path. Tay, analyze any technology we encounter. June, stay behind us." June opened his mouth to object, then closed it. Perhaps it was better to observe first. The Caliph began with a resonant tone that vibrated through the arena. Hyun immediately shifted into a sleek aerodynamic form and darted forward into the first ring. Almost instantly, stone guardians rose from the floor, their movements mirroring his. The faster he moved, the faster they attacked. Mina blasted several guardians with energy bolts, only to find that each destroyed guardian spawned two smaller, faster ones. Within minutes, the team was surrounded by increasingly aggressive stone warriors. "This isn't working," Ta shouted, using his enhanced speed to dodge attacks, but finding himself unable to advance. June noticed that a small path remained open behind them, leading back to the starting position. "Fall back," he called. "We need to reconsider our approach." Reluctantly, the team retreated, watching as the stone guardians returned to their dormant state. "They responded to our aggression," June explained once they were safe. "The more force we used, the more resistance we faced." Captain Sue frowned. So what's your suggestion? We can't just stand here. Let me try something, Jun said, stepping toward the first ring again. Jun, wait. Minna began, but he had already entered the stone ring. Moving slowly and deliberately, Jun kept his hands open and visible. As the stone guardians began to rise, he stopped and bowed deeply to them. After a tense moment, they bowed in return and then parted, revealing a narrow path forward. Jun turned back to his astonished teammates. The challenge responds to our approach. Come, but follow my lead. One by one, they entered the stone ring, mimicking Jun's respectful gestures. The guardians allowed them to pass unmolested. In the second ring, they faced mirrors that reflected distorted, aggressive versions of themselves. When Mina instinctively attacked her reflection, it launched a devastating counterattack that nearly overwhelmed her. But when Jun simply smiled at his reflection, it smiled back and faded away. They're testing our self-control, Jun explained. Our willingness to choose peace over power. Ring by ring, the team progressed, with Jun guiding them through challenges that required restraint rather than force. In the water ring, creatures rose to attack when threatened but carried them safely across when approached with trust. In the energy ring, pathways appeared only for those who moved without haste or aggression. Finally, they reached the central pedestal where the crystal sphere waited. Captain Su reached for it, then hesitated. "This has been too easy," she said suspiciously. "There must be a final trap." Tai scanned the pedestal. "I detect no technological safeguards." "Step back," Minna suggested, energy gathering in her palm. "I'll remove it from a distance." Jun studied the sphere, noticing how it seemed to pulse gently, almost like a heartbeat. "No," he said, moving forward. "I think I understand now." Before anyone could stop him, Jun placed his hand on the sphere. It glowed brightly at his touch, projecting images into the air around them. Scenes of conflict and resolution from Varic history, showing how they had learned to temper power with wisdom. The Caliph isn't about retrieving the sphere, Jun realized aloud. It's about the journey, about how we choose to face challenges. The final image showed the Varic extending hands of friendship to other species, creating alliances rather than conquering. Jun lifted the sphere from its pedestal and turned to face Commander Cole, who had descended to the arena floor. The entire stadium had fallen silent. "You understand," Cole said, his voice carrying to every corner of the arena. "The Caliph reveals the true nature of those who attempt it. Throughout our history, many have tried to force their way to the center, seeing only the goal and not the meaning of the path." Jun offered the sphere to the commander. "The true test was whether we would rely on power or wisdom. And you have shown us that humanity possesses both," Cole replied, taking the sphere. "Though perhaps not evenly distributed among all your representatives." Captain Su stepped forward. "We've learned something valuable today about the Varic perspective, and perhaps about ourselves as well." As the arena erupted in the rumbling sound of Varic approval, Jun caught Mina's gaze. The energy manipulator gave him a small, respectful nod, the first acknowledgement from any of his enhanced teammates that his ordinary human perspective had value. It was a beginning. The human delegation's quarters shook violently, throwing Jun from his bed. Emergency lights flashed red as the station's AI announced in multiple languages, "Security breach in docking sector. All civilians proceed to designated shelter areas." Jun rushed into the common area to find his teammates already awake and alert. Captain Su's eyes were unfocused as she telepathically scanned the station. "We're under attack," she reported grimly. "A species calling themselves the Mavic have breached the outer defenses. They're demanding the surrender of all Varic leadership." Jun's blood ran cold. "The Mavic? But they nearly wiped out the Varic centuries ago." "You know of them?" Tai asked, surprised. "From the archives," Jun explained quickly. "The Varic fought a devastating war with them after their transformation into a warrior society." Mina's hands glowed with combat energy. "Well, they picked the wrong day to attack. We should find Commander Cole and offer our assistance. Before anyone could respond, the door slid open to reveal Ren, the elderly archivist, his wings quivering with urgency. "The commander requests your presence in the command center," he gasped. "The Mavic have returned after 2 centuries of silence. They've discovered our peace talks with humans and believe we're forming a military alliance." The team followed Ren through corridors filled with Varick civilians rushing toward shelter areas. June noticed how disciplined they remained despite their obvious fear, centuries of cultural emphasis on restraint evident even in crisis. The command center was a hive of controlled activity. Commander Cole stood before a massive tactical display showing a Mavic warship twice the size of the Varick station. Portions of the outer rings were already damaged, sections exposed to space. "The Mavic demand my surrender and the execution of the human delegation," Cole explained without preamble. "They claim your presence proves we're establishing a military coalition." "That's absurd," Captain Sue protested. "We're here on a diplomatic mission. The Mavic remember only the Varick of old, conquerors who used any alliance as a means to wage war." Cole's fiery eyes fixed on June. "They do not believe we have changed." Tactical displays showed Mavic boarding parties cutting through the station's defenses. They were tall, crystalline beings whose bodies seemed to shift between solid and energy states. "Our warriors are engaging them, but the Mavic can phase through solid matter when threatened," Cole explained. "We cannot contain them for long." Minna stepped forward. "Let us help fight. My energy manipulation might be effective against their phasing ability." Ta nodded. "I can hack their systems, disable their ship from within. And I can coordinate our mental defenses against any telepathic attacks," added Sue. Commander Cole considered their offers, but June noticed his gaze returning to the casualty reports that were already mounting. "Commander," June said quietly, "fighting the Mavic nearly destroyed your people once before. Is there another way?" Cole's expression was grave. "The Mavic understand only strength and dominance. They see diplomacy as weakness to be exploited. Or perhaps," Jim suggested, "they've never encountered true diplomacy, only deception disguised as negotiation." A commotion at the command center entrance interrupted them. A Varick security team entered, escorting a captured Mavic. The crystalline being pulsed with angry light, its body partially phased to prevent restraint. "Their advanced team commander," explained the security chief, "captured attempting to access the central computer core." June studied the alien carefully. Despite its intimidating appearance, he could see intelligence in its shifting crystalline features, and something else. "Fear. May I speak with it?" he asked Cole. The commander looked surprised but nodded. "Be careful. The Mavic are known for their deception." June approached the captive slowly, hands open in a universal gesture of peace. "I am June, representative of Earth. I wish to understand why you've attacked a peaceful station." The Mevic's voice came as harmonics that the translator converted to words. "Peaceful? The Varick are never peaceful. They build, they prepare, they conquer. It is their nature." "Perhaps once," Jome acknowledged. "But species can change. Humans were once violent tribal warriors, but we've evolved beyond that." "Lies," the Mavic harmonized. "We intercepted transmissions. We saw your enhanced warriors demonstrate their powers. This is a military alliance." June realized the Mavic must have observed their demonstrations upon arrival, and the Keleth challenge. They had seen only the enhanced humans' abilities, not the lessons learned. "You misunderstand," June said. "Let me show you something." He turned to his teammates. "Captain, I need your help. Can you establish a telepathic link between the Mavic and myself? I want to share my memories of what I learned in the archives." Sue hesitated, then nodded. "It's risky, but possible." With Commander Call's reluctant permission, Captain Sue created a mental bridge between June and the Mavic prisoner. June focused on the memories of what Ren had shown him. The Varick history, their transformation, and most importantly, their centuries of struggle to overcome their mistakes. When the connection ended, the Mavic's crystalline structure had subtly changed. Its aggressive pulsing slowed to a contemplative rhythm. "You are unenhanced," it observed, focusing on June, "unlike your companions." "Yes," June confirmed. "Humans believe in choice. Some enhance, some remain natural. We value both paths. And the Varric truly regret their conquests. This is not deception." Commander Call stepped forward. "For 2 centuries, we have rebuilt our culture around restraint and wisdom. We have not engaged in military conquest since the war with your people." The Mavic was silent for a long moment. Then, "I must communicate with our ship commander." What followed was tense negotiation, with June serving as intermediary between the Varric and Mavic. He discovered that the crystalline beings had been monitoring Varric space for generations, always expecting the winged warriors to resume their expansionist ways. "They saw our enhanced abilities as proof of their worst fears," June explained to his team during a brief recess. "They believe humans were providing the Varric with biological weapons technology. How do we convince them otherwise?" Minna asked, her earlier battle readiness replaced with genuine concern. June looked thoughtfully at his enhanced teammates. "By showing them the truth about humanity, that our strength lies not just in what some of us can do, but in the wisdom to know when not to use those abilities." The main hangar bay had been cleared of ships to create space for the unprecedented meeting. The Mavic delegation, 5 crystalline beings of varied colors and patterns, faced the Varric leadership and the human team across a simple table. The Mavic ship commander, a towering figure whose body shimmered with blue-white energy, spoke first. "Our scout has shared the unenhanced humans' memories. We find them provocative, but insufficient. Words and images can be falsified." "What would convince you of our sincerity?" Commander Cole asked. "A demonstration," replied the Mavic leader. "Your station's primary weapons remain operational. Our ship is currently vulnerable. Show us this restraint you claim to value." The request sent shockwaves through the Varric officers. One stepped forward, wings flaring in agitation. "Commander, this is clearly a trap. The moment we power down our defenses." Call raised a hand for silence, his gaze moving to June. "What would a human diplomat suggest?" June considered carefully. "Trust must begin somewhere. Perhaps both sides could make concurrent gestures of good faith." For hours, they negotiated the details of a mutual de-escalation. The Mavic would recall their boarding parties and move their ship to a more neutral position. The Varric would power down certain weapon systems and grant the Mavic limited access to their historical records to verify the cultural changes they claimed to have made. Throughout the negotiations, Jun noticed how the Mavic representatives kept watching the enhanced humans with wary attention. Every time Mina's fingers sparked with energy or Captain Su appeared to be scanning their thoughts, the crystalline beings would tense, their bodies shifting toward their phased state. During a brief recess, Jun pulled his teammates aside. "They're still afraid of you, of what your abilities represent." "We've done nothing threatening," Ta protested. "Your abilities themselves feel threatening to them," Jun explained. "The Mavic were nearly wiped out by enhanced Varric. They see your powers and remember their near extinction." Captain Su frowned. "What are you suggesting? That we pretend to be ordinary?" "No," Jun said. "I'm suggesting we demonstrate the most important human quality, choice. The choice not to use power even when we possess it." When negotiations resumed, Jun requested permission to speak. "The Mavic have asked for a demonstration of restraint. I propose that my enhanced colleagues voluntarily neutralize their abilities for the duration of these peace talks." Shocked silence followed his suggestion. The enhanced humans exchanged uncomfortable glances. "You're asking us to make ourselves vulnerable," Minna said quietly. "I'm asking you to show that humans value peace more than power," Jun replied. "That we choose when to use our abilities, rather than being defined by them." After a tense discussion, Captain Su stepped forward. "We accept this proposal. The Varick medical team can administer temporary suppressants that will neutralize our enhancements for 72 hours. The Mavic delegation's crystalline forms pulsed with surprise. Their leader leaned forward. You would voluntarily relinquish your advantages to demonstrate our commitment to peaceful relations. Yes, Sue confirmed, though June could see the struggle in her expression. One by one, the enhanced humans agreed to the procedure. Within hours, they had received the suppressants, rendering their abilities dormant. Mina stared at her hands, now incapable of manipulating energy. Taz's thought processes slowed to normal human speed. Captain Sue described the sudden silence in her mind as both disorienting and strangely peaceful. The effect on the negotiations was immediate. The Mavic delegates became more forthcoming, less defensive. When June suggested establishing a permanent diplomatic presence on both Varick and Mavic worlds, the crystalline leader actually agreed to consider it. Your species is unlike any we have encountered, the Mavic commander told June as the formal agreement was being prepared. These enhanced ones willingly surrendered their powers on your recommendation, a recommendation from one with no special abilities. Physically, perhaps, Commander Cole interjected. But June, who is unmodified, possesses something equally valuable, the wisdom to recognize when power should be set aside. As the Mavic returned to their ship and repair teams began work on the damaged sections of the station, June found his teammates in the observation lounge, watching the crystalline vessel change from threatening red to a more neutral blue coloration. How does it feel? He asked them. Being temporarily ordinary. Mina flexed her fingers, no energy dancing between them. Simpler, but also heavier. I've relied on my abilities for so long. I keep trying to calculate complex equations and hitting a wall, Tay admitted. It's frustrating, but also interesting. I'm more aware of my surroundings. Captain Sue smiled slightly. I'd forgotten what it's like to wonder what others are thinking instead of knowing. There's a certain anticipation to conversation this way. June leaned against the viewport. The enhancements will return when the suppressants wear off, but perhaps you'll remember this experience. We certainly will, Sue said, studying him with new respect. You were right about that. A month had passed since the meeting with the Mavic. The human ship was ready to return to Earth. June stood at the window of the Varick station, watching as workers loaded the last supplies. Will you miss this place? Commander Cole asked, joining him at the window. Yes, June said honestly. I've learned so much here. About the Varick, about the Mavic, and about humans too. The commander's wings shifted slightly. Your visit has changed us as well. For centuries, we feared meeting other species. We thought they would either be too weak to respect or too strong to trust. You showed us a different way. Together, they'd walked to the docking area where the human team waited. The enhanced humans looked different now. Their powers had returned days ago when the medicine wore off, but they used them less often and with more thought. Captain Sue bowed to Commander Cole. Thank you for your hospitality and wisdom. We will carry what we learned here back to Earth. And we thank you for preventing war with the Mavic, Cole replied. Your willingness to give up your powers, even temporarily, impressed them greatly. They have agreed to formal peace talks next month. Mina stepped forward, carefully controlling the small bit of energy between her fingers. We've made you something. She opened her hand to show a small ball of blue light. It's stable and will last for many years, a reminder of our visit. Ta had used his enhanced mind to help design a new translation system that worked better with both Varick and Mavic languages. Da had used his shape changing to help fix parts of the station damaged in the attack. As they said their final goodbyes, a small Varick child ran up to June and handed him a drawing. It showed June standing between a Varick and a Mavic, all holding hands. Thank you for showing us mercy, the child said shyly. June knelt down to the child's level. Remember, real strength is knowing when not to use power. On the ship heading back to Earth, the mood was thoughtful. The enhanced humans spent less time showing off their abilities and more time talking about what they had experienced. I've been thinking, Captain Sue said during dinner one night. When we get home, I'm going to recommend changes to how we select people for enhancement. What kind of changes? June asked. We focus too much on physical and mental abilities. We should test for wisdom and judgment too. Being enhanced without those qualities could be dangerous. Ty nodded. I've calculated the probabilities. If all humans became enhanced like the Varric did, we would have a 78% chance of following their path to conflict and war. When I couldn't use my powers, Minna said, looking at her hands, I felt normal again. I remembered what it was like before enhancement. I saw things differently. Maybe we need both perspectives. June smiled. For the first time since the mission began, he felt truly part of the team. Not just tolerated, but valued for his unique perspective. When they reached Earth orbit, they were surprised to find many ships waiting for them. News of their successful first contact and peace deal had traveled ahead. Looks like we're getting a hero's welcome, Dad said, shifting his form slightly to look more presentable. Captain Sue turned to June. You should be the first one off the ship. Me? June was surprised. But I'm just the one who saved the mission. Minna finished for him. Just the one who prevented a war. Just the one who showed us all what real human strength looks like. As their ship docked, Earth officials waited to greet them. The team insisted that June lead them down the ramp. He carried the Heart of Wisdom crystal from the Varric, which glowed softly in his hands. I don't understand, the Earth president said after hearing their report. You were sent as an observer, not a leader. How did you, without any enhancements, become so central to the mission? June thought about how to explain. The Varric once changed their whole species to be stronger. They could all fly and breathe fire and do amazing things. But they lost something important. Different ways of seeing things. They became too much alike, too focused on power rather than wisdom. He looked at his enhanced teammates, who nodded for him to continue. When the Mavic attacked us, my teammates could have used their powers to fight. Instead, they chose to give up those powers temporarily to show that humans value peace more than strength. That choice saved thousands of lives. The president looked thoughtful. And the Varric and Mavic are now talking peace because of this. Yes, Captain Sue said. Thanks to June, we learned that sometimes the strongest choice is to show mercy. Later, as June unpacked in his home on Earth, he found a message crystal from Commander Cole that he had slipped into June's bag. He activated it, and a hologram of the Varric appeared. June, who is normal. The message began. You came to us feeling lesser than your enhanced friends. You leave having taught us all that true strength lies not in ability, but in choice. The Varric have a saying, the fire that warms is more valuable than the fire that burns. You have shown us the warming fire of mercy and understanding. For this, you will always be welcome among the stars. Jun placed the crystal beside the Heart of Wisdom on his shelf. He couldn't fly. He couldn't breathe fire. He couldn't read minds. But he had shown them mercy, and that had made all the difference.